You can't see it, and you definitely can't smell it. You know what it is? It's radon. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to replace the blower fan on your radon remediation system in your home. This is an integral part of your radon remediation system. Your radon gets vented from the slab of your home through a pipe that comes up through this fan, and the fan then blows it up all the way above the ridgeline of the house. Radon is a colorless and odorless gas. It's got a high concentration in certain areas of the country, whereas others do not see a lot of it. I'm here in Maryland, where we do have higher incidence of radon. There's a couple of different ways that your radon remediation system may work. We have one, what's called a passive radon remediation system, where it actually just vents through a sump pump and naturally just goes up outside the house above the ridgeline. Then you have others that are not passive, like this one here, where we've got an actual fan that's blowing. Now this fan has been going for I don't know how long, but it runs constantly. So as you can imagine, with something that runs like that, eventually in time, the motor is going to burn out. This motor is starting to get to that point, and you can hear it buzzing and humming and creating a lot of vibration. So I'm going to show you how to replace the blower fan on this to ensure that you're properly venting the radon from your home. The first thing we'll end up doing is shutting off the power, and then we'll go ahead, disassemble this, pull the power off, and then disconnect it from the bottom of the PVC pipe and the top here, and we'll put our new one in and reconnect it. I've shut the power off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew these little Phillips head screws, and then I'm going to disconnect the power. So we've got our hot, neutral, and our ground wires. I'm going to disconnect these. So there's a little clasp here that holds the wire in place so that if it vibrates, it doesn't fall out. We've got our wire disconnected. Next, we're going to go ahead and unscrew this and unscrew on top of here as well so that we can get the piping off. So these bands will loosen as you unscrew them. Because these are old, these could have dry rotted, so I got to be careful not to break them, because these gaskets can go bad. So we got the old fan off. When I pulled it off, there was actually a little bit of debris in here that came through, because the line that this goes through going up to the roof does not have anything over it, so debris can come in here. So it's important to have some sort of like filter or a screen so that you don't get debris in there. And I can see that some parts of these fins have broken too. So here's our new unit. Doesn't look much different, just looks a lot cleaner. And so I'm going to go ahead and pop this on here. The less you have to mess with, the better. So I just left this part here. I'm just going to make sure this fits snugly up on top. I made sure so that I keep my power facing out. That way it's much easier for me to go ahead and access this like we did before. Next, we're going to put this part up on back on top of the bottom here. I'm going to push on this pipe a little bit to give some space if need be. All right, final connection is this. It's also important to make these connections very tight, because remember, this is pulling a gas through there, which you don't want leaking out here. So I'm taking my wire clamp off the old one to put back on this. I'll put these two pieces back in. This goes on top, and this one goes beneath it. This wire clamp is meant to prevent the wiring from coming disconnected, because there is some vibration going on. So now I'm going to fish this back through here, give myself a little space here. I'm going to tighten the clamp Now the final step is reconnecting both our hot, neutral, and ground wires, and then we'll put our cover on and then put the power back on. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the power back on, make sure it's blowing properly. The fan sounds good, it's humming nicely. Doesn't sound like it's struggling at all like the other one we just replaced. And we wanna just keep an eye on it on a regular basis to make sure that our radon levels are within EPA protocols. And if they're not, perhaps you need to put another blower fan on this other side of the house where it vents through the slab, or do something else. But it's just important to keep an eye on it regularly to make sure that your levels don't go higher than they should be, because we know that this can be unhealthy. For more tips, tricks, and DIY improvements you can do to improve the value of your home as well as its functionality, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button.